Hey everybody, Josh Olive with Haven Comics. It's Thursday night, which means it's time for some shop talk, and we've got a fun one for you tonight. So stick around after this awesome little intro. You're back. I'm back. We're all still here. It's Thursday, so let's talk about some comics. Let's talk about some shop talk. You don't have Alan tonight, so it will be a civilized show without any of that weird snark, those strange musical interludes, um, some of the awkward moments. Those are all gone. So enjoy that. Tonight, we are bringing on Rocky Spurlock from Chattanooga, the founder, creator, the guy who puts in all the blood, sweat, and tears to make FarleyCon happen. And we're going to talk about FarleyCon, which is coming up in just a couple of weeks. So y'all put your hands together virtually for Rocky. What's up, Rocky?
Hey, Josh, how you doing?
Doing good, brother.
Sorry, I was just posting that we were live over on the FarleyCon page.
Yeah, absolutely. So I got to ask. Already got Zach. What's happening, Tots? Good to see you, brother. We were at FarleyCon last year, and just walked away. We've talked about it a lot since then. Really impressed with the show. It's a great show.
Thank you.
You've got a great setup there. It's a really interesting little location that you're in. It's just like this little bubble. There's restaurants and hotels and everything right there. Really convenient, and nothing feels like it's a long ways off. Nothing feels like it's a pain to get to. And then it does sound like an actual GI Joe code name. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. We'll get the action figure art going for you real quick here. But you got comic vendors there. You got toy vendors there. Pretty much anything that I saw in my childhood that I ever had or wanted to have, I saw there. And then you had an incredible lineup of creators, particularly GI Joe creators, which makes me happy. But I guess my first question is, how did all that start? Where did the inspiration for FarleyCon come from? How did you go from there's not a show to now there's a show?
So I used to be a professional wrestler in Chattanooga for about 20 years, and one of my best friends that I wrestled with, he was wrestled as Jay Farley. He did like a Chris Farley gimmick, looked just like Chris Farley.
So he was super skinny.
Oh yeah. He was he loved the fat man in the little coat thing. So, so Jared was a.
I can identify with that.
Yeah, it's not funny when it's my coat he's got on though.
But bet not.
He would be a vendor at other shows. He'd been a long time comic and toy vendor. And he took me to my first show, my first convention up in Knoxville. Had a blast, got bit by the bug, and we started talking about doing a wrestling / Comic Con. And he was going to take care of the Comic Con during the day. I was going to run the wrestling at night. We had talked about it for a long time, never done it. Jared, unfortunately, passed away. And we were approached by some of his friends about doing a benefit, just a wrestling show benefit, and I thought, this was his dream. Let's make it come out. Let's make it true. So we did the first one in right after he passed, a couple months after he passed. We had 10 vendors, and then we ran wrestling that night in the building. I mean, it was super small and no guests. Everything was just a benefit for his wife and his kids. And my wife, we were struggling with a name. This was back when, San Diego was hitting everybody with the can't use Comic Con.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were trying to come up with some kind of name because we couldn't use I didn't want to use anything say Comic Con. And so my wife came up with the name FarleyCon, named it after him. And that's where we started at and how we kept it going, keep his name alive. And I get to tell people about my friend, and that's one of the most important things to me.
What an awesome tribute. That's fantastic. That's the kind of thing that you hope your friends will remember you somehow, and that's a great way to do it. That's amazing. That's awesome. That makes me like the show even more, which I didn't know was possible. Um, pretty great. I talked with some of the vendors there, and they all tell me I'm a comic book guy, so they're the ones that I gravitate toward. But they always tell me it's a great show for selling comics, but it's also a great show for buying comics because people come in with comics to sell, and they're like, yeah, they said I will spend as much as I make at
Oh, yeah.
FarleyCon, and I'm happy to do it. I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's cool. That's cool. But last year you had Larry Hama, which is I've met Larry before um, at Dragon Con in Atlanta. That was not the ideal place to meet Larry Hama, I will say.
I have
Um,
a story about that.
boy, he had a sign up that was frequently asked questions. And this is one that he had printed up and put up at his table. And it was things like, why is your new work not as good as your old work? He's like, it is. I mean, stuff like that, right? And I'm like, how often are people such jerks to this man that he feels compelled to put something like that up?
Oh, I mean, he's got stories of like where he would do the sketches and was doing them for free, and he'd find them thrown in the trash or on the floor later on. And
oh, heck no.
yeah, he said he went to lunch one day and Neil Adams sent somebody out to make a sign, and said it was like I think $40 a character at the time or something. And he come back and Neil had put it on his table. And he said he had a line and people were keeping them and they valued them after had to pay for them. But when it was free, they just threw them away. And I couldn't imagine doing that. I mean, it's
how?
Yeah.
No, that baffles me. I cannot imagine that. That's just astounding. That's astounding. But
we
jumping back,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, no, say jumping back a little bit. You're clearly a GI Joe guy because this con is year after year stacked with GI Joe talent. You got the tattoo, you got the artwork behind you. How did you get into GI Joe? What was your entry point into GI Joe?
1983 with the toys for Christmas. Matter of fact, it was.
Did your first ones have the swivel arm battle grip or no? Were they the straight arms?
I don't remember. I just remember there's a photo of me with this in the box. That was the first thing I got. And when I found it a couple months ago, or about a year ago, I had to buy it again. It's here on my desk ever since. Yeah, the toys.
I'm not that way at all.
The toys and the comics, I've always gravitated towards the comics. My mom, she would work a third shift job and she was going to hair school during the day. And I would help her watch my little brother and sister, and she would give me money, a couple dollars here or there. And I remember walking to the gas station and buying GI Joe comics and wrestling magazines. It's what I bought with it, and I had a whole collection.
Child of the '80s, right there.
Oh yeah, it's. I love Star Wars. I mean, don't get me wrong, but it's a distant second to GI Joe.
Same. Now here's a real quick. What's your take on Transformers?
I love it. I love Transformers. It's one of those things where if you go back and watch the Netflix Toys That Made Me, it's it wouldn't exist without GI Joe though. So I mean, it's everything goes back to that's the first action figure. I know my dad. He's got a story. He says that when he was a kid, the neighbor down the street got mad and wouldn't let his son come play with him because my dad had a GI Joe figure, and he said his son wasn't playing with dolls.
Wow.
I wish we still had that figure, but it's long gone. But
that would have been the old days where they had the hair.
This is mid 60s. Yeah.
Yes, they would have been the tall ones. Yeah. I've kind of like you. I love GI Joe. I love Star Wars. And Transformers for me was a distant third.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked the mask figures, but they were I liked the concepts of the mask stuff. But the fact that they were a 3-inch scale instead of the 3 3/4-inch scale drove me insane. Because what I really wanted was like that motorcycle helicopter combo vehicle for my GI Joe guys, and they wouldn't fit on it.
Yeah,
that just drove me nuts.
Back in when I was doing the 25th anniversary figures, and they come out with that Matt Tracker figure, I thought, okay, we're finally going to get it, and then that's all we got.
Yep.
Maybe we'll get them classified. I don't know.
I think that's coming.
There seem to cross over a lot of stuff into classified, as this month's issue of GI Joe's got in it.
I was surprised that happened in the Larry Hama series, the GI Joe Real American Hero, as opposed to the Energon Universe GI Joe. That surprised me a little bit.
Yeah, I was too. I'm glad it happened, because that's our exclusive that we have for this year is a Alex Ogle did an exclusive for Graybeard Comics for FarleyCon.
Yep,
and it's great, because when we got Larry, we got Alex there, we've got Tony Cordes, the inker. So I mean, it's a great opportunity to get a couple signatures on it.
So when you guys started your wrestling and comic convention, it has morphed now, right?
Yeah.
How would you characterize the nature of that transition to what it is today?
More than I could ever imagine. So we started off, I mean, we were basically a wrestling show. Like, we had live wrestling, professional wrestling. It was like a $5 ticket. You got into the Comic-Con during the morning till about 4:00 in the afternoon. Then we broke all that down, and then they got to come back and go to wrestling. Would love to have that concept again. We don't have the room.
Takes up space.
Yeah, it takes up a lot of space. We did do it this past October with Chattanooga Comic Con. I and TWE in Chattanooga, the wrestling show here now. FarleyCon and TWE put on a show at Chattanooga Comic Con. So it was kind of a throwback to our roots of that. And, Chattanooga Comic Con was great with us to give us that space and to give that to their people coming in too as well. But that's one of the things it was so much. I don't really want to ever go back to trying to put the wrestling on myself in the middle of doing the con.
So what would it take to get you back in the ring?
Well, not much. Not much at all. I'm actually, I was telling my wife, so I'm in the best shape I've ever been in my life now. I was probably about 30, 40 pounds heavier when I was doing this. I haven't wrestled 10 years. And so I was about 30, 40 pounds heavier at the time. I feel a lot better. Of course, I've not been getting thrown around for the last 10 years either, but, I have little itches here and there where I'll come up with something and think I want to do this gimmick. Like right now, I've recently started wearing cowboy hats more often, and I was looking at it the other day, and I thought, I could go as the illegitimate son of Dusty Rhodes and call myself the American Daydream Rocky Rhodes. And
the illegitimate son of Dusty Rhodes. I love it.
Just little things like that pops in my head. It's like, that would be fun, but I'm almost 50 years old. I'm too old for this.
Maybe bring Brother Love out of retirement. Oh Lord. So what's your favorite thing about being able to do a show? Because it's a lot of work. Maybe talk about that a little bit too. What all goes into it? Because most people who are watching this will never run a convention in their lives. We go to them all the time, but we don't necessarily know what goes into making them happen. I would guess this is probably pretty much a year-round thing. That the minute the one wraps up, you're already working on the next year.
Yeah, after we were August 2nd and 3rd last year, August 4th, I was returning tables that we had rented for some of the guests to sign on. And I was on the phone with the agents booking the people for this year. We booked BJ Ward at that time and Neil Ross and a couple others at that moment, the next day after the show. It's a constant thing. So first thing, you got to get the dates and get the building. That's the number one thing, and get vendors, tables on sale, and then set your budget for everything. How many guests are you going to have? How many can fit? Hotels, you got to work with them. You got to work with even things like having food for them in the green room. Certain guests will have certain diet restrictions that you've got to work around. Travel, it's a lot of work. Insurance. You've got to get insurance for your convention. It's
Never would have thought of that part.
yeah, it's a whole thing that you've got to. I mean, because you got to protect yourself. And it's if somebody gets hurt, you're liable. So you got to have insurance to cover yourself on that. And then you have things like that you plan for, but it's really unexpected. You never know what's going to happen. Last year, we had a couple guys, Bob Bodansky and Seth Gilling, were flying in on Thursday from New York. Well, they just decided to shut the airports down in New York last year for no reason, and they bumped all them guys to Friday. Well, the ones that were flying in on Friday, they just bumped them or canceled their flights completely. That's why we lost Ron Rudat wasn't able to make it last year because his flight was canceled. They just told him there was no more flights out of the Northeast for him. Same with John Beatty. He was supposed to be there last year, and his flight got canceled. It was just a lot of issues with the pilots and air traffic controllers and things like that. So you have those things you have to deal with. Sometimes you have, most people understand things happen. You do have certain people sometimes that come in that bought the ticket and are mad that their guest that they're there to see was not there. Even if they canceled a couple of weeks ahead of time and you've told them, you've posted that on social media, you take it off their website, they get there and still expect to see that guest, and they get mad at you because they didn't see the post. It's just things like that happens, but you just gotta have to deal with it and apologize and move on.
Kane wants to know what's the biggest diva guest you've ever had at FarleyCon. May not want to say. Have you had any big diva guests? Just like they want green M&Ms and no yellow M&Ms or any of that weirdness?
No, we've been extremely lucky. Everybody we have had has been great. I mean, we've become friends with a lot of them. Personal friends like Keone Young, for example. He'll just call me out of the blue and just a chat. No, I don't. We really have not had anybody that's been a diva or had any issues with any of our guests. They've all been amazing.
That was very skeptical of you, Kane. Ask a question like that. Very cynical.
Well, I'm sure it happens. I mean, you got to think. You got some celebrities are more. I mean, I've heard horror stories of other conventions having guests that either don't stay at their table or won't come to their table if they don't have a long line, things of that nature, or not showing up for halfway through the Saturday just because they don't want to go out there. I have heard issues of that, but we've been lucky. We've not had anything like that at all.
Yeah, you know how those Haven people are. real difficult. Hard to get along with those folks.
Yeah, those guys have been kind of hard. Now you guys have been great.
Real challenging.
Really always helped us out. I mean, we don't have a lot of I'm gonna say footprint in Huntsville area other than going to the expo. Jeremy is amazing to letting us come out there and piggyback off what he's done. And you guys have been amazing. Y'all have helped us out. Y'all have put out flyers for us in your stores, and it's been great. I mean, it's the whole community has been amazing to us since we started this.
Well, I appreciate that. We like to support good folks doing good stuff, and FarleyCon is exactly that. It's a great show. Good people putting it on. Good food in that green room too. Not gonna lie.
I gotta give a shot. That's Buddy's Barbecue. They oh my god, and they're amazing. They're a great sponsor of ours. They take care of our guys every year. Not only our guests with it, but the staff. We went to Heroes a couple years ago, and Rick Leonardi. We never met him, and we met him that year. And we always go up to. A lot of times we'll go up to a guest that we have that especially for somebody we've booked through an agent or something, introduce ourselves and see if there's anything that they would like in there. and we met him at Heroes, and that was the first thing he said is, "I have heard that you guys have amazing barbecue for us for lunch." I am looking forward to it. Now, that was the first thing.
It's
I don't know where he
legendary.
heard it, but he heard it.
Well, I was going to say he heard right because that was some good stuff.
Yes,
That was
they've
some
been
good
amazing
stuff.
over there.
So, how is it that you decided to pivot hard into GI Joe, particularly? I mean, clearly you have a personal passion for it, or that wouldn't happen. But that's a pretty. You've got a strong GI Joe lineup year in and year out.
We've always had a GI Joe component since we started having guests. It was a lot more local. Dan Jolly is a author that lives around this area that did some GI Joe comics.
Yep.
We had Dan for a couple years as our GI Joe guest, and that's my passion. That's what I wanted to really focus on. When Jared was alive, Jay Farley, and we had talked about it. He didn't want guests. He didn't want to bring guests. He just wanted to do a straight toy and comic show, which is great too. I kind of miss doing that from time to time. But we had talked about doing, bringing in some of the people from the cartoon back then but we were looking more like the writers or artists and stuff from the animation. So we've always had that. When we moved, we used to be in the community center until COVID, and when COVID hit, we had to go to a bigger location. So we went from, I think the community center is around 7,000 to 8,000 square foot to where we're at now, which is around 30,000 square foot for the arena, which is not huge, but it's still a lot bigger. And we was able to bring in bigger guests. We got the first year that we moved in 2021, we had Jim Shooter and Sergeant Slaughter as our guests that year. Two of our guests. We also had Dan with us. Dan's been with us a lot of years. Really, I think up till last year, and this was the first year we hadn't had Dan with us. I just saw him recently at another show in Knoxville and talked to him for a few minutes. And then we've got Larry. Larry was supposed to have been our first guest.
That's a killer first guest.
Yeah, we had Larry Hama and Bobby Eaton was supposed to be our first two guests.
Mm-mm-mm.
And Bobby used to wrestle with my dad. My dad was a professional wrestler in Chattanooga and WCW and everything else as well. And he used to wrestle with Bobby Eaton back in the 70s in Chattanooga. And they were going to be our first two guests. And Larry, so we were in April at the time. Larry contacted me in February and told me he was going to have to cancel. He couldn't make it. He had his daughter was getting married. Totally understandable.
Sure.
100%. It was completely understandable. But I'm glad he did. I'm really glad that he canceled that first show. We had no idea what we were doing. We weren't ready to have Larry there, and we wouldn't have been able to get him probably ever if we'd have had him at that first show. It just was not the venue. We weren't the right size. The attendance was not there. We were maybe 200-300 people back then, if we were lucky. We were one day show. So that was, like I said, we always had that G.I. Joe component. It's just grown and grown and grown. And then, honestly, a lot of it comes from my wife. My wife, she'll just go up and start talking to people and tell them about the show and give them information. She did it with Keone. We had saw him at another show. And I talked to Keone a couple times throughout the years at different shows. And she went up to him and she just pretty much just booked him right there. And she did the same thing with Jim Shooter. She's the one that booked Jim Shooter.
Jim Shooter's had God rest his soul. Jim Shooter had stories for days about everything, and I'm sure part of his reputation within the comics industry was earned, but I think a lot of it was just anger and vitriol from people because going off my personal interactions with him, he was nothing but the nicest guy.
Yeah.
Like, hey, yeah, come sit down over here. Let me tell you a story. And we would just call, and he had an encyclopedic memory for everything comics.
Mhm.
And he was carrying around comics that are worth so much money in that 3-ring binder that he would slap down on the table, and he would just open it up and he would pull that book out and open it. Yeah, and right here is where this happened, and this was written, and Stan came in, he said this, and you're like, do you know how much money that book is worth and the way you're handling it? What are you doing? Uh, but it's just a comic to him because he was there when it came out. He was there when it was written. He had stories behind it. It was incredible.
He when we had him in 2021, he asked me to find him a Marvel Team Up 3 that somebody had came up to him and told him about how much that comic had meant to him, and that they couldn't find it anywhere, and he pulled it out of that book and gave it to him.
Oh wow!
And he asked me, he's if you get a chance, look around and find one. He said, don't tell him it's for me because I want to pay for it. I just went and got mine and gave him my copy of it, and so that was I was kind of proud that my copy of that comic went around the world with Jim Shooter. I loved him, man. We got to spend some time together after dinner and hanging out, and then the next day his flight was like in the late afternoon, and we just spent the whole day together, and took him to a couple of restaurants up here or a restaurant in Chattanooga. It's got the like a Lazy Susan still in it.
Yeah.
And, that's every time I saw him after that. That's what he wanted to go back to. He talked about that. We never got the chance. We had him booked right before he got sick.
Yep.
He got sick the week before he was supposed to be in with us, and then he was supposed to be in with us last year, and then unfortunately, he passed away. But I miss seeing him. I loved Jim to death. He was great to us.
He was an incredible guy, wasn't he?
He really was.
Let's see what Stacy's got a question. Stacy always has really interesting questions. So this for you, Rocky, as a wrestling booker. Would you have John Matrix from Commando wrestle John Rambo?
No, actually, I would put them with a tag team and just have them just run over everything. I think you have more. I think there's be more like a Road Warriors type tag team there, where it's just destroys everything that's been put in front of them. And then you have the little sneaky guy from Commando. I can't think of his name. The little snake in the grass guy. You could have him slide in one day and low blow one of them, and then you got the money coming back when they have to chase them to get back the revenge on them.
See, he's already got this all plotted out. I mean, one question, one prompt. He's got the whole storyline down. Love it. That's a professional right there. Let's see. And do you work with local comic book artists and designers? I'm guessing that you do, at least in some aspect for the show. Do you have your artist alley and whatnot? Do you have local comic creators coming in?
Yeah, we have local comic creators. Like what I said, Alex Ogle is from this area. He did the exclusive 330 we have this year. Let me see a couple more we've got. I've got my list pulled up here. Brian Silverbacks, love Brian, and he's
Brian's great, isn't he?
Oh, I love him.
Let me see if I can find the sketch that I got him to do for me in Albertville a couple of years ago.
Jesse Leon McCann, his wife owns a comic book store up in Cleveland, Tennessee, and he was a writer for like Simpsons comics and Crypto and Superdog and stuff like that. So we have him with us. Like I said, Alex Ogle. We usually have Dan Jolly will be with us from time to time. We got guys like Jason Flowers. We have a lot of local people here as well. I'm drawing a blank on everybody's name. I'm just hitting the ones that's been with us.
Jason Flowers is great.
I love Jason. He's one of the best turtle artists I've seen.
Yes, I wholly agree.
He did our print a few years ago with all of our different guests on it and stuff, and he did amazing on it. Dimitri Walker, we have him from time to time with us.
Dimitri is great.
I love him too. I mean, we have Billy Martinez. We have with us this year. He's semi-local to us.
I didn't realize how much artwork I have just like stuffed away right here in this This is kind of embarrassing. I'm like, what in the world do
Oh,
I have?
if you could see, my office is destroyed with FarleyCon stuff everywhere. It's like I've got everything that's going to the convention
Okay,
center
here we go.
here.
This is the one I was looking for to show you. I have to get all this other mess off of here because I'm just made myself a big old mess. But a couple of years ago, there was a show that lasted for exactly 1 year um, up in Albertville. And there were two comic book artists there, one of which was Stephen Butler. And I got Stephen Butler to do me a Snake Eyes. So he did that.
Nice. That's really nice.
But I told Brian Silverbacks, I said, I want a, he says, what do you want me to draw? I said, Snake Eyes cutting the head off a cobra. And I said, you interpret that however you want. And so he did that.
That is awesome. I think he showed me that.
Isn't that great?
I went to that show, and yeah, that's amazing.
A literal cobra. I'm there for that. So I'm going to have to get him to do me some more, because that I love everything about the way he did that. I thought that was great. That's one of my favorite con sketches I've gotten in a long, long time.
Oh, Bron's amazing artist. He's an amazing guy. I mean, he's just amazing.
He is a nice guy. Isn't he great?
And we've had so much. I've had so much more fun after the show, hanging out with Brian and Dimitri. We went axe throwing out there one year, and after the convention on Saturday night, and I thought we wound up staying out there till probably 1 o'clock in the morning. It was hard on Sunday to get up.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, as long as you get Brian some nachos, you're good.
Oh yeah.
You got to get that man some nachos. Let's see. That's where that is. And I have so much art here that I've got to. I'm starting to feel really bad. I'm like, that's where that went. But I picked up. Did you ever read The Disavowed, by the way?
No, I haven't read that one.
That's Josh Blaylock, who had the G.I. Joe license for a while.
Mm-hmm.
After Marvel lost it, so he had it in about 2001 thereabouts.
With Devil Due.
With Devil's Due, and this is he kind of did. What if you revived a property like G.I. Joe now? You were really trying to maximize the 80s nostalgia, and then he went a step further and said, and what if there were no guardrails, if it was more like a hardcore 80s action movie like Predator or something like that, right? So not PG.
Mm-hmm.
But his tagline for that book was weaponized nostalgia. And he hit that pretty well. It's a fun book. It's got some plot twists and turns that you're like, wait, what? You can't do that. But he did. This is a blank cover that I got from Jamie Sullivan. If you know Jamie Sullivan, yeah. That thing is great. That one made me quite happy. And this is just all stuff that I have put on the shelf that I had mostly forgotten about until just this minute. So I'm kind of excited. It's like having Christmas Day. Have you had Jamie out to the show?
No, we tried this year, and it just didn't work out, I guess. But Keone contacted me. He was like, "You need to get Jamie." He's like, he's an amazing artist. And,
he is.
I just couldn't get him. There's been a couple that we've tried to get. We just hadn't been able to work it out yet. We're still holding out hope for a couple of them.
When he was in Memphis 2 years ago, I asked Jeremy Long was going to be there, and I said, can you get me Chris Mooneyham sketch? And so Alan wanted one, and I wanted one. So Alan got Scarlet, and I got Baroness from Chris Mooneyham.
Oh, that's awesome.
Chris Mooneyham is the man. I love what he's doing on G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
And then Javier Soltares, I had forgotten he had even done any G.I. Joe stuff, but he did some of the late 2000s G.I. Joe stuff when it was at Devil's Due. And I just got a couple of pages from him.
Nice.
From his book. No major characters that you would recognize or anything, but pages from G.I. Joe, so that makes me happy because that's what makes me happy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, you was asking me about this print here earlier.
Yeah.
So I've got one. I don't think I have it up here. No, I don't. It's in my stack over there. It's a page from G.I. Joe 21 that I got from Larry, and he's got them on his table.
It's the one of the flying in on the castle.
Yeah,
and I bought one of those from him last year. Yeah,
we had Ming Chen with us a couple years ago, and Ming posted online after he bought it, and there were people offering him, thinking he bought the original from him, and like, if you decide to get rid of that, let me know. I want to buy it. And we're like, Ming's like, well, we could just buy a whole bunch of them and sell them.
Yeah,
it was they're so realistic. I mean, this one looks like it's got a coffee stain on it.
Yes,
that's what I love to collect is the artwork, even though if it's not the original page, or I love it. And then I also get Larry. I don't know if you can see him, Larry, to do sketches for me as well.
I love getting him to do sketches, and he's so gracious to do them.
We'll see if this. I don't know if this will show up.
He always wants to make sure that you want it before he lets you take it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Of course, I want it.
I don't know if it's going to show up or not, but
well, let me switch over to Alan. Here we
go. It's still going to be
a little bit. Let me see what we're looking at here.
So Larry has said multiple times that he got into comics because he wanted to draw ducks.
That's what I thought. I was looking at Uncle Scrooge.
Yeah. So I had him draw me an Uncle Scrooge, and he's got a sign that says FarleyCon's unfair to ducks.
That's draw ducks. Bucky O'Hare makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Bucky O'Hare makes a lot more sense to me now. That's interesting. That's interesting. So that first year, you were going to have Larry Hama. You weren't able to swing it. Mm-hmm. And that turned out to be a blessing in disguise.
Oh, yeah.
So you were finally able to get Larry Hama. And I think that kind of seems like that relationship has just kind of blossomed, right? I mean, you guys, he's kind of a fixture now.
We love having Larry.
FarleyCon.
We had him in 2022 was the first year we actually had him. We didn't have him in 23, but we've had him the last couple of years. This will be our third year in a row we've had him with us, and people love him. And we love having him with us, and he seems to have a good time, and is always a hit with the show and a hit with our staff. And it's hard to do G.I. Joe without Larry. It's because he's
the heart and soul of it.
He and I've told him this in the past. I said, to G.I. Joe guys, he's our Stan Lee.
100%. That is 100% accurate. Yeah, he's our Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. He's the guy. And I always wonder how much he gets frustrated by people like fanboying him over that kind of thing. Because when I see him, that's what I want to do, and I try desperately not to do it.
He loves talking about anything. I mean, he loves talking about G.I. Joe stuff too, I'm sure. But like, we'll have conversations about totally stuff not related to G.I. Joe. When he was talking about meeting him at Dragon Con, I took a copy of 21 to get signed by him, and I'd already met him a few times in Atlanta at other shows, and he knew who I was. And we were talking, and Mark Bagley was set up at the table right next to him,
Mm-hmm.
and we were discussing that and discussing how we found stuff, and he was telling me a story about finding something in an antique sale or estate sale, and I looked behind me, and he had a whole line behind me, and we were completely blocking Mark's table, and nobody could get to Bagley, and Larry just kept talking, and it was like one of those things where you know that you need to move on to so, but how do you walk away when Larry Hallman's sitting there having a conversation with you about a guitar he found at an estate sale? I mean,
Yeah, I wouldn't walk away from that for any amount of money.
you can't, but I could tell that other people where this table was blocked was not happy that they were blocked.
Yeah, you can't blame them, but still, I mean, come on. It's kind of like when George Perez was at CrossGen doing work for CrossGen. They had a thing set up in Chicago with this big island set up, and they had creators there sitting side by side, and so you could go up and you could get this guy to sign your thing, or this creator, this lady to sign your thing, whatever. But they very smartly did not have anyone sitting next to George Perez. And his line they capped within 3 minutes of opening the doors
Wow.
for the day, because that's just everybody ran to his line. And I remember I was 3 people back, finally getting up to the table to see George Perez and get him to sketch something for me. And the guy who was standing up there was just kind of being a jerk. And he was like, "Hey, could you draw me a sketch of Jarvis?" And he's like, "Yep." So he just sit there and he drew Jarvis. But while he's doing that, some other guy comes walking up and goes, "Oh, hola, Jorge, what's up?" And he's like, "Hey," and Eduardo. And so this guy comes walking over and he sits down next to George Perez. And I'm looking at him like, "Are you Eduardo Beretta?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I said, "Dude, would you draw something for me?" He's like, "Yeah, what do you want?" I said, "Whatever you want to draw." And so he just had a Sharpie and he drew this Batman just in like 3 minutes, full page Batman taking up the whole page, and he's holding a bat ring in his hand. And everybody's looking like, "How did you know who that dude was?" I'm like, "I'm a comic guy."
Yeah.
Right. But then I got up to George Perez, and George Perez was just amazing. And he's drawn the sketch of the character Sephi from Meridian. And he just goes, "Oh, this paper is really, really good for soft hair." And so he just kept going and going and going and going. He drew like every detail of that hair. And the people behind me were like, "Dude, what are you doing, man? We're going to be in this line all day." I'm like, "Don't interrupt the master at work."
Yeah.
He likes the way the paper does with hair. You let the man draw hair.
Yeah, there was I don't know where. Oh, back over here, Mercer. I saw Larry Houston at a show, and he was not prepared to draw anything. And John Anderson was with me, and we were talking to him, and he's like, "Well, you guys find me something to draw with and draw on, and I'll sketch you something." So all we could find was an ink pen, and we went to Eddie Price, if you know him.
I remember Eddie. Yeah,
Eddie. We got some paper from Eddie, and went over there, and Larry Houston just sat there and just drew out Mercer, and he pulled it up on his phone. He's like, "I haven't drawn this character since the movie."
wow.
And, yeah, and it's all ink, and it's perfect. I mean, it's like I would have so much anxiety trying to draw it in ink, and because you can't make a mistake.
Can't fix it. Can't fix
Yeah,
it.
and, that was that's one of my prized things I have too, is that. And I was a big Mercer fan and just loved having that. But yeah, I never got to meet George Perez.
I met George Perez several times, and he was nothing but a sweetheart of a guy. He seemed genuinely like aware of and thankful for the fact that he got to do what he loved for a living. And he was always just really, really grateful to everybody that stood in that line. It's like you couldn't believe it every time. And we're like, dude, you're George Perez. This is how it's going to be. Yeah, he was great. But this year, is the person I always wanted to meet and was never able to was Herb Trimpe.
Yeah.
That was a guy I wanted to meet him, shake his hand. His daughter's in some of the GI Joe groups on Facebook, and she seems really cool. I just always wanted to meet him and shake his hand and thank him for GI Joe, but also for he drew Wolverine, first appearance of Wolverine. And you're like, that's amazing. But not being able to meet him, the fact that you have Steve Leialoha coming to the show, dude, that is somebody I have wanted to meet for a very long time. And I am crazy excited that he's going to be there.
He is going to be the tallest Hawaiian you ever meet in your life.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I'm going to say he's probably 6'5", 6'6". He's tall, but Steve is an amazing. We had him a couple years ago with us, and this is the first year we've been able to get Steve, Larry. We had Steve and Larry a couple years ago, 2024. But this is the first time we've been able to get Steve, Larry, and Keone Young, the voice of Storm Shadow, all there at once. So, if I know a lot of guys, like myself, I like having the voice actors sign the comic for their character's first appearance. It's just a little something added. That's one of the things I've got mine signed by all three of them, and Jim Shooter with it as well. But it's a great signing opportunity. You got three people that's tied into that one comic there that across two different mediums.
Yeah,
but Steve's amazing. And we actually last year, Michael Reniger, one of our vendors, and he used to be the vice president of Palisade Toys. He did an exclusive for this that was based off the Reniger edition that Michael Turner did for G.I. Joe years ago.
I wonder what the story was behind that, because it's not like Michael Turner's around to be churning out new exclusives. So that was pretty impressive.
Yeah, that was it was Michael Turner's estate gave him permission to do the cover. It was Rupp Comics and Michael Reniger had put it together, made it a shared exclusive with the FarleyCon. And so, we've got that. We're actually doing a thing this year where he's got a few of those left over. Well, that was one of our prints. That was our print last year that we give away to our VIPs. And we have some of those left over. So we're going to do a little scavenger hunt type thing this year, where if you get it signed by Reniger, Larry, Steve, and Keone and get it CGC graded and witnessed, they're going to give you a certificate that you take to the front and pick up one of our free prints. So it's kind of a little bit of incentive there to get it done, because it was an amazing cover. And
that was a great cover. That was a fun one.
Yeah, it's something that needs to be graded and put out there and kept in your collection and signed by these guys.
Yeah, could not agree more. So having Larry Hama and Steve Leialoha there, are they doing a panel this year?
I don't know yet. I hadn't got that far. I've got to write the panel schedule this weekend. I haven't done that yet and put everything together.
Because panel or not, I'll just stand in line and I'll talk to them. But I would love to hear some of their stories from those early days, because Larry's always been a little bit different as a comic book writer, because he gives so much visual information to the artists, and he did a lot of the breakdowns, especially in those early issues. That then the cleanup guy and the inkers would come behind, and that's always been fascinating to me, because it's just really unusual for a comic book writer to do that. But that's just the way he thinks, right? And that's the way he can convey that information the best. Always thought that was really fascinating. But let's go back to Ron Rudat. You've got him coming.
Yeah.
Tell for people who may not know, tell them the story of Ron Rudad. What's he known for?
He was the designer for all of the figures from like 82 to I want to say 87, maybe 89, somewhere around that area.
So pretty much everything in your childhood that you loved, that man designed it.
Yeah, he
That's
designed.
incredible.
Yeah, I've got and he's also got some sketches and stuff. I don't know if you see the Scarlet one up there, but I got a Baroness right here that he's got stuff too. So he also has some artwork and stuff that will be available. He'll draw. He also the big thing. He designed the Cobra logo. He's the one that designed that.
That is a masterclass in logo right there.
Oh yeah, I mean you got to think how many things has that been on now. I mean even like the finest groups and things like that use it.
How many people have that tattoo?
I can't show it, but yeah, I got it here. CM Punk, WWE heavyweight champion. He's got Cobra tattoo and the Rashikage that on his arm. I mean, it's something that's embedded in any of us that was born in the 70s and 80s. I mean, it's our childhood, and it's a thing too that kids that grew up with it. A lot of us went in the military based off of the stuff we did there, even though it wasn't a propaganda for to enlist people in the military. It was it kind of influenced me going in when I went in for a little bit.
Yeah, that's interesting because Larry Hama, while it's pages of G.I. Joe and it wasn't like he was killing people off all the time, he never painted war as like this glamorous thing people wanted to be a part of. He never did that. And a lot of comics did. It was all glorified. Good guys always win. Bad guys always lose. Good guy, gets a flesh wound, but he's going to be okay. That kind of thing. Larry Hama always wrote in the realities of it from the perspective of a guy who'd been through that, and even down to the language that they speak. It was reading through a G.I. Joe comics, always like getting a master class in like infantry lingo. I mean, talking about the distances, the ammo, the different kinds of guns, the whole 9 yards. And you're like, it just came across as very realistic. And
one of the things I loved is
that's interesting.
Like who'd put we're at the LZ. And then there'd be a box down at the bottom say landing zone. It would explain what the terminology was. I mean, nowadays you can pop up Google and see what it was, or and look it up. Back then, unless you're going out and getting the encyclopedia out of it and looking it up, it's hard to find this stuff back then. So it was great that he included all that.
Yeah, but at your point about people going and joining the military. Is an interesting one because he didn't glamorize it, which I would think would be maybe that's because people saw it as real. It's obviously this fantasy setting, right, and that kind of thing, but it felt very real.
Well, if you go back and look at 155, he when Sean Collins' son was going to join, and he wrote the letter to Snake Eyes, and Snake Eyes was writing him back and explaining to him, it was not. A propaganda thing of, rah, 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 let's join the military. It broke it down pretty much. This is a personal decision. The way I took it, it was a personal decision.
Yeah.
There were things in there that I'm sure, that influenced me going in from G.I. Joe, but, more the brotherhood, that we saw in there, the group thing, that was one of the things that helped influence me with it.
I do have to admit, I love Larry Hama's challenge coin. He'll sell it to you if you're not a vet, but if you're a vet, he'll give it to you. But it's the Fort Wadsworth Chaplain's Assistance Motor Pool challenge coin. I have one, and it makes me happy.
Oh, hold on a minute. I got mine right here. Well, never mind. I can't get to it.
Oh, well.
It's behind some boxes up over there. That's the shirts for this year, all stacked up over there, and I can't get around it.
It's such a great inside joke for GI Joe people
Mm-hmm.
because there's nobody else on the planet who would understand it. But a GI Joe person instantly is like, dude, I get that. That's my people.
I'm hoping that the new movie that was announced that it carries over into that with Danny McBride's movie he's writing and directing now.
I just hope that they write a GI Joe movie that is a GI Joe movie and not some wackadoo Transformers wannabe movie. That drives me insane.
Well, he said that he was a fan of the toys and comics growing up, and that he's written in there that Larry was one of his inspirations for writing, one of his top 10 authors that he's read. So I'm hoping for it.
I'm cautiously optimistic. I have yet to enjoy a GI Joe movie very much. The GI Joe, what was it? Retaliation, not Retaliation. The one that had the Rock in it.
Yeah, it was Retaliation.
That was the better one of them. Um, there were bits of it that I liked, but I would like to see a movie that just takes the comics seriously and builds on that. There's a reason, and this is the thing Hollywood always gets wrong, right? There's a reason that the comics are popular enough that people want to make a movie about it. Stick to the source material. It's already a visual medium, right? It's storyboarded for you to the nth degree. Just stick with what's there. You're gonna be fine.
You got 40 years of source material, or 44 now, or 42 now. I mean, it's you've got the material there.
See, that's one of the things that drove me nuts with the Marvel Cinematic Universe with the MCU was they drew some stuff from early on and then they just skipped way to the end.
Yeah.
Like you left all this stuff in the middle and you had decades of material to tell stories with and you just burned all that down so you could tell these more recent stories. Like, that was a bad move, guys. What are you doing?
Yeah, I don't know if it's just character rights, maybe. For years they didn't have, the Fantastic Four, X-Men, all that group. Spider-Man, they're limited on what they can use him with, a Hulk even. So I don't know if it's maybe that issue, or it might be a something to do with the Writers Guild. That the comic guys aren't in it, so they have to change so much to appease, or not necessarily appease, but to be able to take care of the Writers Guild and the Directors Guild and all that stuff. It could be a union thing. I don't know, but
I don't think so. I think they didn't have the Fantastic Four and they didn't have Spider-Man. They worked out a deal, or the X-Men. They worked out a deal to get Spider-Man, and Sony just collects the checks. So Sony's like sitting real pretty. But they had decades of stories they could have told with the Avengers, that they could have told with the various characters. And they just blew through so much to get to this end state, which, it's brilliantly done. I thought for the most part, the MCU up through Endgame was spectacular. But there were a lot of things they could have done that they just, let it go. And I thought that's so much stuff you just left on the table. Come on, guys, you're killing me.
Oh yeah, it could have been actors' thing too. The actors are aging.
Yeah, they do age in real time, not in comic book time. That's true.
They don't want to recast because how do you recast Tony Stark right now?
Yeah, you don't.
You have to have something like Secret Wars to reboot pretty much the whole universe. And Robert Downey Jr., if he's cost them $50 million a movie, I can see why they need to move on through that.
Yeah, well, it's not like they didn't make their money back.
Yeah, that's
they did all right.
Yeah,
they did all right.
I'll give up $50 million for $1 billion. That's no problem. Or $2 billion. Yeah.
Right there. That's true. That's why we can't get a Young Avengers movie, which is a shame. because they were really primed to set that up, and then they just like, no, we're not going to do it.
Yeah.
Because the Young Avengers, that initial story of the Young Avengers was amazing. It was great.
Yeah, I'd like to see them do the. It was a animated series they had where it was the children of the Avengers. It was like a Young Avengers, but it was, I forgot what they were called. But it was like they were all like placed on this island to be protected, and like Tony Stark was the only Avenger left that was alive to watch over these kids. And me and my son used to watch it when he was little years ago. But it'd be a great movie if they'd do it, do it right.
I remember that. I have to look into that one. I don't remember that. But jumping back to FarleyCon, let's talk about the dates. Let's talk about the details, logistics, how people get there, all that kind of stuff, because we want people to go. If you are in the sound of my voice, and I realize that you might be in Nebraska, that's fine. FarleyCon you can get to from Nebraska, I promise. You go to Omaha, you hop a plane to Chattanooga or Atlanta. Atlanta's not far. It's a 2-hour drive. And then just right there. You can get to FarleyCon pretty easily. I'll be honest with you, you can get to FarleyCon more easily than you can get to Huntsville and the Huntsville Comic and Pop Culture Expo. Because Huntsville is in a weird place that's 4 hours away from Memphis, 4 hours away from Atlanta, 2 hours away from Birmingham, 2 hours away from Nashville. But flying directly into Huntsville is a pain. You can get to Chattanooga pretty easy. If you can hear my voice, get to FarleyCon. If you like a comic book convention that feels like a comic book convention, all the cool toys that you had from the 80s, all the stuff that you ever wanted, and it's like, and it's not, I'm trying to figure out the right way to say this. The vendors there don't feel like these are the same 42 vendors that show up at every single show and do every single thing, and this is their entire life, and they're so tired of it, but they don't know what else to do. That's not what these folks feel like at all. These folks are like, hey, man, it's nice to meet you. Here's what we got. Here's what we can do. Super friendly group. It's worth getting. Get out to FarleyCon. It's worth it.
Yeah, our vendors are amazing. We have some of the best vendors, I think, in any convention. They're, like you said, they're friendly. They're there. They're having a good time. They want to be there.
Yep.
And it shows. It shows in their actions. They're fans. Most of our vendors are toy and comic book fans, and that's one of the things we pride ourselves on is we're comics first, comics and toys first. That's our main thing with FarleyCon. That was what Jared was a vendor with. Jay Farley was a vendor with at shows, and that's what we were building was a comic and toy show / wrestling. So we still do have the wrestling. We just moved it over to wrestling guests now instead of actually having live wrestling.
I saw that. You got Brutus the Barber Beefcake coming.
Oh, I love Bruce. We had him a couple years ago. We had him and Jimmy Hart a few years ago, and it's one of those things where it's hard to get them right now because we moved weeks to the first week of August. And then WWE decided that was a great week to put SummerSlam right on top of us. Yep. Same thing happened with the Expo this year with WrestleMania dropped on them.
Sure did.
Yeah, so we run into that issue. We didn't think we was going to have anybody. We had Dan Severn, and that we thought that was going to be the only wrestling guest that we had. And then we recently got Beefcake and Devon Dudley will be with us. And
if you could pull any one wrestler like out of the heyday of wrestling in the 80s and pop them over to the show, who would it be?
Oh my God.
Or if it's a tag team, you can bring them both.
For ticket sales, Sting. I saw what he did at the Huntsville Expo a couple years ago, and Sting would definitely be the one. Personally, I loved Arn Anderson back in the 80s.
Fair enough, yeah.
Oh my God, this is a hard question because you got, I would love to have, Randy Savage. I would love to have Savage, Hogan, obviously, Flair and Anderson, the Horsemen. I would love to have all of them. We had Lex Luger a few years ago. I
thought you were going to be a Steiner Brothers guy.
We've had Scott.
Yeah.
So the funny thing, my dad and his partner actually wrestled Rick and Scott Steiner in WCW.
Really?
Yeah, there's a clip. If you can find it on Facebook. of their match. My dad's partner was a bigger guy. He was close to 400 pounds. And Rick Steiner just throws him around like he's nothing in there. And there's a clip where Rick Steiner goes behind him, grabs him, and flips him and lands him on his head. I showed it to Scott. He's like, yeah. He said, I remember that match. He said, I didn't think he was going to get up. He's like, that was bad.
I gotta tell you, man, as a big dude, right? I'm like 415 pounds. Years ago, this would have been 2001. We're playing volleyball, which it's volleyball on a racquetball court, and has slightly different rules. Not important, but it's me and this one dude. We called him Ham and Cheese. He was a monster, man. This guy just worked out like a fiend. I mean, he was like all the time, and it was the two of us playing against three guys on the other side. And the same rules of volleyball, right? You can't touch the ball twice in a row. Somebody else has to hit it in between, and you only get 3 hits, right? So, dude hits the ball, and I'm running over to get it. I'm not going to make it. And he just picked me up and threw me. I'm a big dude. I felt like Calvin from Calvin and Hobbes, and Mo the bully is just like, he just grabbed me and threw me.
Did you get the ball?
I did.
All right.
I managed to hit it back to him, and then he spiked it, and the other team was just standing there when he spiked the ball down on them. They weren't even moving because they were just watching like, what just happened? Did he just throw Josh? He just bodily hurled him across the court. And then everybody was on the floor laughing, and he's like, what's so funny? Like, because he's competitive, man. He's going to get it. He wasn't putting up with me being too slow. My butt's going to make it over there.
That's awesome.
So you talk about him picking up this 400-pound dude and dropping him on his head. I'm like, I don't know that I would have got up from that.
He about didn't. We thought Danny, my dad's partner, and he was my partner years later. We thought he was dead. We thought they'd killed him. But yeah, it was you still find that it's went viral. This is a clip from the early 90s, but it's still out there. And as a matter of fact, I saw it the other day. If I find it, I'll share it on.
I say, don't think I'm not going to go and look that up on YouTube.
Oh yeah, it's
I totally am.
Just Steiners versus Spurlock. Just look that up, and it'll pop up.
I'm absolutely going to do that as soon as we get off here.
Yeah.
So tell folks the dates and the times and all the important information so they know where to go, so that they can come out there. And you can pre-order your tickets, or you can get them at the gate.
Yeah. So we're August 1st and 2nd. We're at the Camp Jordan Arena, and we're in East Ridge. It's easier to say Chattanooga because more people know where Chattanooga is. But we're exit 1. Right before you hit the Georgia line, going out of Tennessee into Georgia, or coming into Tennessee from Georgia. So we're exit 1, big Bass Pro Shop. That's, like you said, that area right there is just expanded. There's hotels there. There's Top Golf. There's Buddy's Barbecue. There's other restaurants.
That pizza place right there is really good too.
Yeah, the pizza place is really good.
That was really good.
We had Sam De La Rosa with us a few years ago. We couldn't get him to eat anywhere else. Like every night, he wanted pizza. That's what he lived off of when he was with us. But that's
fair. Good. That was good pizza.
But there's Starbucks, Chick-fil-A. So there's stuff there to eat. You don't have to go far. It's you can, if you're at the arena, it's actually within walking distance.
Yep.
But there's sidewalks right there, so it's not that huge area, but everything's right there that you need. But we're at the Camp Jordan Arena. Doors open at 10 on Saturday for general admission. VIPs get in 30 minutes early. We do limit the VIP ticket sales to 100 so that you're getting that extra time in there.
Are you already sold out of those?
No, we're not. I'm not sure where we're at number-wise, but we still have some left on that. VIPs, you do get to choose a print. We have a Michael Golden's one of our guests this year. Michael and Steve Lay Aloha. Golden did the cover for G.I. Joe 27, and Steve was the inker on G.I. Joe 26. So we have an 11x17 print. You get to choose one of those two for that. And
Golden did that yearbook cover too, didn't he?
yes, yeah, that was our print a few years ago. We do have some of
Yeah.
those that we normally have those set up, and he's signed a bunch of them for us when we go to other shows and stuff. We'll sell those at that. We got Brian Shearer with us, Michael Watkins, Renee Witt. I can never say her last name.
Winterstetter.
Yeah.
Yes, she's a tough one to say, but I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, she did She-Hulk. She was a colorist on G.I. Joe, one of the issues of G.I. Joe. I didn't know that until this year.
Yep.
So we have our whole section of G.I. Joe stuff that we're dubbing that Joe Nuga. That's a part of FarleyCon in there,
and that's not even counting all of the voice actors you've got from the cartoon.
We didn't even got them. Like I said, I'm just going through the list here. Tony Cordes, who is the inker on G.I. Joe right now, it's just won an Inkwell, a couple awards of that.
Well deserved too.
Well. Yeah, Steve Lay Aloha just got the Joe Senate Hall of Fame with him.
Sure did.
Brian Silverbacks, Jesse McCann, Peter Smith is going to be with us. He is does a lot of variant covers for G.I. Joe. He's got a cover of Zartan and Zorana that's amazing, and we have both of them with us, so it'd be great to grab that. Guy Dorian Sr. and his wife will be with us. I'm going to mess Marnie. I can't never say her name. I apologize for that, but she is an amazing artist as well. She's got she's got some snake eyes. You were showing that snake eyes earlier. She's got a snake eyes painting she's done, and she's got prints of it. It is beautiful. She is so talented. And guys amazing too. They've got that the Mounties versus Werewolves that him and Larry did, and of course we got Mark Spears with us as well. Mark will be there with us. He's got his G.I. Joe stuff that he's done. He's got obviously the monsters. And all kinds of things. And Mark is he's one of the nicest guys I've met.
It's ridiculous, isn't it?
You would think the first conversation I had with him, Guy actually put us in touch with each other. We were at a show, and Guy called me and said, "Hey, Mark Spears?" Well, I don't know him personally. I met him briefly at Huntsville last year, and he's like, "Well," he goes, "I talked to him, and he wants to come to the show. So here's his number." I'm like, "Well, he just kind of booked him without." I'm thinking, okay,
I didn't know that's how that went down. That's awesome.
Yeah. So Guy pretty much had told him, he had called Mark and said, "Hey, I'm doing the show in Chattanooga. Mark does done a cover for him for the Mounties versus Werewolves."
Yep.
And he's like, "We'd love to have you. Let me put this together." And so he took. Guy did it all. Guy set it up, and then when I talked to Mark, and it was like, we had like a month. We booked him like the end of June, and for a show that starts in August, and he was just amazing. Mark is just, like I said, he's one of the most humble, nicest guys I have met doing this. And
he's a guy who took 30 years to have overnight success.
Yeah.
And that's not lost on him. Mm-hmm. And so he's grateful.
He's amazing.
He's trying his best to manage that in a smart way so that, because he knows that, it doesn't last forever. And he's trying his best to manage that in a smart way. And I think he's doing great. And a lot of that's because his wife is brilliant. But yeah, no, he's a phenomenal guy.
He is. Yeah. We, like I said, we had probably a 30, 45 minute talk that first time on the phone. And it was mostly about G.I. Joe.
Sure.
And he was, giving me his story about, working for so many years and everything he went through, and then it exploded at one night. And
yep,
he's I gotta tell Mark the story about Mark. So last year he had a bunch of exclusives for us.
Yes, he did.
So one of my guys had called me before we booked him, and he had gotten out of collecting comics. One of my volunteers for like 20 years. and he called me. He's like, "Hey, I don't want to go into the comic book store because if I go back in, I'm going to be, I'm going to be sucked back in. I'm going to be buying everything." He's like, "My son brought home this Mark Spears Monsters book." And he said, "We've got every issue but number 3. We need number 3. Can you find it for me?" Well, sure. I've still got it over there. I never did give it to him because I keep forgetting. But he wound up getting the copy. But I went out and got it. Well, I told Mark about it, and the guy that was, or Fred, the guy that was working that wanted the comic, was actually working the line for Mark, and I was going to buy one of the exclusives from Mark to give him at my 2 guys that were working the line. And when he found out it was him, he was like, he just turned around and said, "Hey, pull me one of every exclusives," and signed them all and gave them to him. And it was like, he didn't have to do that. I was going to buy it for my guys. Mark just like, "Here."
No, Mark's not going to hear that. You take care of the folks who take care of you. And Mark's really smart about that.
He's amazing. But our lineup for our voice actors. Now we have the biggest G.I. Joe reunion in the world.
Yes.
You're not going to find this anywhere else. We have 11 of the voice actors from the original cartoon. We've got Neil Ross, who was, Dusty, Ripper, Monkey Wrench, and Shipwreck. We have him, Zach Hoffman. We got Zartan, B.J. Ward, B.J. Ward, Scarlett. And she's, everybody wants her. It's hard to get her at conventions. Of course, we got the Voltron there with her and Neil as well.
I do have to say, last year it was very, very strange to be sitting across a lunch table and hearing Lady J talk to me.
You'll get to do that again this year because she's back.
That is so unnerving because I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel like I need to be on my best behavior right now.
So Bill Ratner, I was talking to him last year, and Flint and Bill and Mary both will be back with us this year. But he was talking to me. He's like, he said, all these people look like their character. Yeah. He's like, Michael Bell looks like Duke. He's, Mary looks like Lady J. And,
Yep.
He said, and then here we got Flint with this, square jaw and real, muscular. He said, and they put me in there. But he's great. But yeah, we've got those two. We've got Francois Chow from Quick Kick be with us. He's also Shredder from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2. He's been in Lost, Avatar. He's in the Avatar show on Netflix. Keone Young, Storm Shadow, Mr. Wu. Yeah. Dan Gillivan from Bumblebee and Slipstream. So
when I talked to Keone Young last year, I was like, dude, I loved you, Deadwood. He's like, please don't make me say it. And I was like, no. Don't feel compelled on my behalf. He was a super great guy to talk to.
Oh, I love him. He is, I've said this about being my favorite, but Keone's one of my, he's my buddy. I love Keone. Like I said, we'll just chat. He'll call me up and just to check on us and see how we're doing. And, it's unusual.
That's a great sign right there.
He's such a great guy.
That means you treat people right.
Well, we try. We try to treat them like family.
Yeah.
And, it's, we got Lisa Raggio, Zorana will be with us. We got Zartan and Zorana. I wanted Xander, but I just couldn't quite get it pulled off. Peter Cullen's Xander, so we couldn't get him. We'd love to have
that's tough.
Brian Cummings, Dr. Mindbender will be with us.
Yep.
Greg Berger, who's Spirit, Firefly, Grimlock. We also have a kind of a Transformers thing going on here with it being the 40th anniversary of the movie.
Sure.
And we have Springer, Bumblebee, and Grimlock coming back to Autobot City because that's Chattanooga. Lookout Mountain is where they're trying to go to watch the shuttle, and that's overlooking Chattanooga.
Yep.
So we're Autobot City. We're bringing back the Autobots there, and then of course we got Bill and Mary, Flint, and Lady J will be with us as well. So, like I said, we've got the largest GI Joe reunion in the world. You're not going to find all of these actors in one location anywhere else in the world.
It is special. It really is. And so much of it is just like a memory that just slips up and smacks you in the back of the head. When you hear this voice and you're like, oh my God, that's Lady J, that's Sergeant Slaughter. You hear those voices and they're unmistakable. They click with you and they remind you of sitting, rushing home to watch the cartoon at 3:00 every afternoon or 3:30. Just like sitting there in front of the TV eating it up. It's just what an incredible memory it really is, and it was phenomenal. You guys put on an amazing show.
Thank you.
It's clear where your passions are. That's you got your fandoms, the things that you really love, but it's also taking care of people and treating people right. I saw every aspect of that last year, from helping Mark and kind of being there with Mark. I saw how you took care of all the people and how you were floating around making sure everybody was taken care of, and how your staff there, your volunteers, they were amazing. Just a really well done show. So kudos to you. And again, I implore you guys, if you're a comic book fan, you're anywhere in the Southeast, August 1st and 2nd, get your butt over to Chattanooga and get to FarleyCon. You will not regret it. It's an amazing show.
Now, we've had people outside of the Southeast come.
Sure.
I mean, we've had the one thing that surprised me is one year we had 3 tickets sold in Japan.
Wow.
I'm thinking, I don't know who they were. I wanted to find them and just ask them why. What made them want to come from Japan to over here for this? We've had them down in the Caribbean. We've had some tickets down there. Last year we had a guy that now he was like in Arkansas, but he got here on like a Wednesday, and just so he could take a picture in front of the building and put it in Mark's Discord server that he was the first person in line for Mark Spears last year.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was last year was definitely different. It was great. I love the enthusiasm that people have when they're meeting Mark and Larry and all of the guys, the comic people, because I mean that's my passion is the comics, and and the toys and the wrestling is a big thing too, and the voice actors. I'm really excited. I've got one of our prints we had the first year was the G.I. Joe #1 cover that I've got. All of them signed it from last year. I got Larry to have signed it, and Shooter has signed it, and I'm going to definitely bring that back and get these guys to sign it as well. A couple other guys we didn't, I'm just going to throw this in here real quick. A couple guys we didn't mention too much is we're not only just got the G.I. Joe and comics, but we also have some anime guests as well for the anime fans. We have Bob Carter, who was in Dragon Ball Z. He's been in Mortal Kombat. He'll be with us. We got a guy named he's Hotep. He does a show on Amazon. It's called like Black Lion and the Cubs. It's a family friendly anime show that they do. It's really cool story. It's a really interesting guy. He's got a great product. And then we got John Anderson. John's, he's with us a lot, pretty much every year, and has been with us for years. We love John. He was in Guardians of the Galaxy, Stranger Things. He's from down in Alabama. Love John, and it's he's a big G.I. Joe fan, and that's one of the great things. He's a fan, and he loves being there, and we love having him with us. One thing I was going to say about Beefcake too, his photo ops. This is a cool thing. So we've got my wife's a hairdresser.
Okay.
So we're bringing a salon chair in there from there, and he's got the barbershop backdrop he's bringing. And so the photo ops are going to be him giving you a haircut. We got the cape. I'm not sure what I think I've already packed it up, but it's the cape they put on you when you get your haircut.
Yeah.
And it's like the barbershop cape that he's going to be doing with the photo ops. So that's one of the unique things we're going to be doing at the show this year. But yeah, so you can go to FarleyCon.com. We got our tickets on sale there. You've got a couple different options. We have our VIP pass, which gets you a one of our shirts, a choice of print. We also have a print that's an 8x10 or 8.5x11 from Billy Martinez did. It was basically a reimagination of the Code Slither with the guests
Nice.
we have, and they're kind of in the Kiss Destroyer album type poses. So that will be included in all the VIP passes, and then we have some of those left over that we'll be giving out at the show as well. We also have a weekend pass, and then we have our day passes. We also have a combo pass with Chattanooga Comic Con.
I saw that.
Yeah, it's something that we've talked about. We work really well with the other cons in the area, and they're really good friends of ours, and we help each other out with this. And it's something that helps out with people that want to go to both conventions. You know, it's $50. You get a weekend pass to FarleyCon and a weekend pass to Chattanooga Comic Con in November for that one price. So
That's a great idea.
It's something that we want to give back to the people. You know, I know how much it costs to go to conventions, especially with a family. Kids 12 and under are free for both of us as well. But it's expensive when you get out there and you're having to pay $80 to $100 for a weekend pass at some of these bigger conventions. And so that's one of the things. It's affordable for families to come out, do something with their kids, show their kids their childhood. My son and I, we bonded over G.I. Joe. He come out. He was 3 years old when that first G.I. Joe movie come out, the Rise of Cobra.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a G.I. I mean, it was a G.I. Joe in name movie, and they put some characters in there. But I got to introduce him to Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes through that. And that caught his eye, and Duke. And then I was able to say, well, you see this, but let me show you how it really is. Yeah. And so there we went to the cartoons, and then when he got a little older, went to the comics to where he was able to read them. And he went with me the first time we met Larry Hama in person in Atlanta, and he bought one of these sketches, or one of these sketches is his that I bought for him from Larry. But it's something we bonded over, and it got me back into collecting the toys and collecting the comics, and something we did together. And actually, that's what G.I. Joe is what got us to go to our first convention with Jared, with Farley, to help him out, because we were looking for stuff for our G.I. Joe collection we had started back up. So without G.I. Joe, we wouldn't, without Jared, we wouldn't exist. FarleyCon wouldn't exist, obviously. But without G.I. Joe, we wouldn't exist either. Joe Nuga and definitely wouldn't exist. FarleyCon wouldn't exist without Larry Hama and all of the voice actors and all of the great comic artists and stuff that's worked on G.I. Joes throughout the years.
That is phenomenal. And I'm just glad that you were able to take something that you love and turn it into something that gives to so many people who also love it. That's a hard thing. But I'm really appreciative that you've done that, because of you, like, I get to meet Steve Leialoha. I'm super excited about that. Things like that. So I'm really excited for that, and I'm really looking forward to it. And I will be there. I will see you on August 1st. Again, if you're in the Southeast, if you're wherever, they have planes. You can get here. Probably a pretty cheap flight, I would imagine. Easy drive up to Chattanooga. Come out and go to FarleyCon. It's a show that reminds you of what comic shops or Comic Cons used to be back in the day. It feels very much like a Comic Con that you might have gone to in the late 80s, early 90s. And I mean that in a completely good way. It just feels very homey. It feels very comfortable. Everybody feels friendly. And you've got a tremendous lineup of guests. It's well worth it. It's going to be a blast, and I'm looking forward to it. So thank you so much for coming on and talking to folks and letting folks know about the show. guys, get over here to FarleyCon.com. You can pre-order your tickets. I strongly recommend that you do that. It's very helpful for places when you pre-order tickets, just so you know. They can plan ahead a little bit better and strategize a little bit more effectively when you do that. And plus, you don't have to stand in line when you get there because you already pre-ordered your tickets, and you can go through the other line.
Yeah.
And honestly, get those VIP tickets because that's going to be worth it. So they still have a few left. Pick them up. It's a very affordable show too, by the way. It's not like you're twisting people's arms and taking their wallet. That's a very affordable show. The VIP tickets are very affordable. Strongly recommend you pick those up.
Well, I appreciate it, and thank you so much for having us on here and letting us talk about the show and Jared, and tell everybody about him and my friend, and our love for comics and G.I. Joe. And I've had a blast. I've really enjoyed this.
Well, I'm looking forward to watching that video. I'm going to go check that out as soon as we get off.
You'll enjoy that.
I will. I'm going to enjoy that. But brother, thank you so much for coming on here. I really appreciate it. And everybody, thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next week, and then we will be seeing you here just shortly, August 1st and 2nd at FarleyCon. So thank you guys. Appreciate it. And we will catch you guys next time. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.